How's it, guys? Welcome to part five. So, part four was a radical supernatural encounter that I had. And I want to say something very, very crucial to the story here. It isn't necessary, it's not limited to that radical supernatural encounter. The radical and supernatural encounters continue. And in fact, looking back, there were radical and supernatural encounters happening before that. But I was blinded to them. And that's why I was getting angry. And that's why I was attacking and lambasting and spewing vile vomit, verbal vomit on Christians whenever they try to talk to me. And so from the time that I met God, I didn't really know much about church or anything. I don't think I'd ever been to, I'd been to the Ingeet church 3 times with Martijn Beyond. But other than that, I don't think I'd ever been to church. Maybe for a wedding, something like that. Funeral, who knows? I can't remember. But anyway. And so I kind of looked up a friend who had started going to church. And I said to them, look, I've met God. I said, man, how's it? I've met God. We didn't have cell phones back then. I don't know how I phoned them. Anyway, I probably walked and went to visit them. We walked, eh? Those days, teenagers, we used to walk Table View. We trapped Table View plat in those days, eh? So anyway, I've got a hold of them somehow, told them I just wanted to go to church. This was on, I think it was like a Friday or something. So I couldn't go to church the next day. I just wanted to go to church. I didn't even know what church was about. I just wanted to go to church. So I'd do it till Sunday. But I was just telling people. I was going around the streets telling people. Remember bumping into Oaks from that circle. Just telling him, Oaks, it's unbelievable. God loves us, and just sensing his power and his presence just hovering over me, like as I'm walking around the streets and just going, God loves you. God loves you, man. God loves you. Do you know that? Do you know that God loves you? And just like, do you know that God loves you? Actually offering me drugs. People that had never offered me drugs from my circle, kind of broader circle, wider circle, the outer circle, or whatever, who had never even given me the time of day, or like trying to offer me drugs all of a sudden. And I'm like, what the heck, bro? And one guy in particular was like, hey, bro, I've got Durban poison. Hey, you want some? He didn't even say how's it. He just came up to me. He obviously heard through the grapevine what had happened, or spiritually something told him. And he came up to me, hey, Andrew, how's it? I've got some Durban poison. And I was like, bro, you have no idea. You have no idea. That is that is so, yeah, just comparison to what I'm experiencing right now, it's incomparable. Can't remember the words I used, obviously, but I just said to him, bro, that's got nothing on the love of God. Nothing. You have no idea. You need the love of God. Anyway, I got miffed, walked away. So those couple of days, then I eventually got to church, and I remember going to church, and now I'm still filthy. Eh? I'm still filthy. I'm like got this straggly, horrible, yucky hair. I've got really horrible clothes, like because I thought I was a rat, like I said to you in a previous clip. Really believed I was a rat up until that point. Like, so I lived like a little sewer, mangy little sewer rat. That's how. That's what I'd become. And so there I was at church, still pretty filthy, in my Doc Martens that I'd painted multicolors and these weird jeans, like hippie jeans and dirty shirt and filthy hair. Yeah, I am at church, and sitting with this person, this friend of mine, and they get up and they sing a few songs, and I'm like, it's a bit awkward and a bit weird. I don't know what they're singing. I've never heard these songs before, but I'm trying to sing. I'm like, yeah, man, this is cool. I'm at church, man. I want to be in God's presence. I want to know about Him. I want to get to know Him more. I want to get to know Him more. And I'm going to come back to that in another video. Get to know Him more, because that's critical. We can that can be like that can be a little fork in the road if we're not careful. Get to know Him. In fact, let me elaborate on that now. In the other videos that I've made up until this point, I spoke about that thing about who is Jesus? Who is he? Like everybody had an opinion, and the opinions vary and they're divided, and we argue about him. Even when you come to church, that's going to happen. Because coming to church is not what we actually called to do. We called to get to know him, not to get to know about him. There's a subtle difference. And so often in church, it becomes more about getting to know about him and then getting to know the church. And they leave him out of it. But he is the whole reason that, in fact, he is life. So if he decides to withdraw, there's no life, and life will cease to exist. It will no longer continue. We're all living under grace. We're all living under grace, whether we honor Him or thank Him or appreciate Him or connect or relate with Him or not. We all live under grace. So when God, the God of life, withdraws, it will cease to exist. There will be death. And so I want to reiterate that point. Going to church can sometimes become about church. Going to church can sometimes become about getting to know about Him, can sometimes become about theology, principles, rules, regulations, and it's not supposed to be about that. It's all about relationship. It's about getting to know Him. So there I was sitting in church, and they're singing these songs, and then somewhere through the songs, I was like right in the front, like literally, because I'm just so amped. I'm like, I'll make my way to the front of the church. Like, yeah, I want to be at church. I'm sitting in the front row, maybe like one row back. There's all these people behind me, and I remember like during one of the songs, the music's playing, but the voices are singing this other language. Like, I don't even know what it is. And I literally start going a bit paranoid in that moment. I go, what the hell's going on here? And I'm thinking, like, in my mind, I'm too scared to turn around because I'm like, what? Oh, hold on a minute. Little paranoia is creeping back in, trying to creep back in. And I'm thinking it's like, the Muppet movie when they're all like, that's what I'm picturing is happening behind me. Okay, little do I know that they're singing in tongues, which is a whole different thing. But I don't know that. I don't know nothing about this. But I hear these women all singing this. And I'm like, what the heck, man? And so anyway, I survived that, and then this oak preaches the sermon, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like gobsmacked. I can't say I'm gobsmacked on the sermon as such, but every time he mentions Jesus, I'm like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Every time he just mentions the name Jesus, I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. It's like life. It's life. That's the beauty. That's the thing. It's life. And so at the end of the whole preach, he basically says, like, close eyes and we do the whole prayer thing. Anyone want to know Jesus? Now I'd already met him. So again, this was just, again, we can fall into little rituals, but I knew no better. So I thought I had to do this now. And so, put up your hand if you want to accept the Lord into your life. So I'm like, my hand, yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to say. So again, the oak prays for me. And again, just like another dose of that love, just another dose. And I think that's the good thing of it. That's the beauty of it. So that's part 5, I think.